Okay, so welcome, folks. So thank you very much for joining us for this. I always kind of start from the beginning, really, in that, self-realization, it's really the simplest thing, the simplest gift of life, the greatest gift of life to life. But it eludes so many. And I suppose the question comes immediately is, well, why is that? And fundamentally, the fundamental and single block to self-realization is the belief in that which you are not. And that we take as being the body-mind ego complex. Because we're so conditioned into, right from the moment you were born, into believing you are the body-mind. You believe that that's all there is to your reality. And really, that single belief that you are the body-mind complex is the fundamental and indeed only block to the realization of the self. All other blockages that are experienced in life are subsets of that single belief. So it's the dissolution of that single belief, just that one, that leads to or provides the gateway to the realization of the self. Everything else really is as a subset of that. Now, the other fundamentally important thing to remember when it comes to self-realization is that it's not an attainment. It's not an attainment. It's not an achievement. It's not something one reaches towards. It's not some goal. And that's how many people treat it, as some future state. The fact is that actually you, and when I say you here, I'm talking about you as in the true you, which is not the body-mind complex, is already this realized essence. I call it infinite silence because that's the name as it was expressed and realized in this form that you know as Philip, that it chose for how to articulate or how to express it. You are already this, and this infinite silence is essentially or simply infinite awareness. And it's awareness that is aware of itself as awareness. And it is this that's realized. It is this that's realized. There's a seeing beyond normal seeing, an inner seeing, a knowing, a remembering, a realization that not only are you already this, but that actually always have you been this, always. And never at any time have you not been it. Even though your experience of life right now is very much like to be not that, and that you're still very much identified with the body-mind. And that's because of this belief. It is so strong, this belief in us, that there has to be quite a significant dissolution before the awareness bubbles up. I've just seen a couple more people come on, so I'm going to admit them. Excuse me. Okay, so welcome to Lois and Claire. We've just started, and I'll just briefly say, just to go over that because it's bears repetition. We are already this realized essence, and it's the single fundamental and mistaken belief that you are not that blocks the realization, and all other beliefs are simply subsets of that one belief. All of them. And all of the traumas and suffering that we experience in life come also from that one mistaken belief that one is the body-mind. The body-mind complex is impermanent. And what we do is we add to that single belief with all sorts of identifications that are based on impermanence, time-bound, and that starts to form an identity, and it also starts to build up an emotional body. So there's not just a physical body, but there's actually many levels, but a key one to be aware of, there's an emotional body. And what that builds up by this, the belief in this mistaken belief that you are the body-mind complex. And as you go through life, situations, experiences, and so forth, you start to build up this emotional body, and you find certain situations in life trigger this, and it's also thus the cause of all of the suffering. When the Buddha said life is suffering, what he meant was it's life as the identified small s self, the body-mind complex, or the ego self. It is that causes the suffering, and it is the dissolution of that belief, totally, completely, utterly, that leads to the awareness or the realization of the self. Now, this then makes the whole process very simple, yet also complicated as far as the mind is concerned, or what we're calling the mind. Simple because there's never been a point when you are not this, and there'll never be a point when you are not this. And you will see this. You don't need to believe me on this. In fact, I strongly encourage you not to believe that, but instead be open to this awareness arising. And it appears complicated because the mind wants to know, well, how can I get there? It always wants to reach towards something, and it's always basing its experience on projecting from past experience into future. And it's said, you know, that, so I'm just trying to catch the phrase in my awareness here now. Memory has poor vision, and it does. Memory has poor vision. And future, what we consider to be future, we're projecting some future from this space, this identified space within us. And because memory has poor vision and the field of view of mind is so limited, the projection is just that. It's only a projection, and you are going to either be suffering because you're looking back into the what you call past, or you're projecting into the future from this limited field of view. So the question comes, well, how do I go beyond this space? And one of the phrases I like to use about the realization of the self is that you must be out of your brilliant mind. You must be out of your brilliant mind. You might remember a song by that title. Was it in the 80s? I can't remember who sang it now. When I mean out of your mind, I don't mean mad. I mean beyond, or even before mind. We have to be open to the possibility that there is something beyond or before that that gives a rise to the human experience. So what I'd like to just do now is just a little exercise with you all, just to kind of give you some sort of sense of this. There's going to be two parts to it, and it's very simple, this exercise. So just close your eyes for a moment. Just close your eyes for a moment. And just as you've got your eyes closed, just ask this question in your awareness. Who am I? Who am I? And just see what comes to you. You don't need long, just see what comes, if anything comes, a word, a vision, something. Okay, you can open your eyes again now. Has anybody got anything that they want to share from that? Did anybody get anything? There's a feature, and I can't see where it is at the moment, but where you can raise your hand. I'm going to ask Andrea to see, because I know she knows how to operate this. Whoops. Hi, Andrea. You've been unmuted.
Thank you.
Do you know where the raise your hand feature is? Because I can't find it.
I can't see it. It's usually on the bottom.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see it as well.
I'm just wondering if it was in settings.
Oh, yeah, Claire's done it.
Yeah.
Claire's
You can click the reaction and then thumbs up. Reaction and thumbs up.
There's a thumbs up, is that right? Okay. Okay, so anyway, did you get anything, Sachin?
Yeah, frankly speaking, I got the sensation.
You got what, sorry? What did you get, Sachin?
I felt the sensation.
Oh, you felt the sensation. Okay, right, good. Andrea's still unmuted. Did you get anything?
I did. It was thought voice.
Thought voice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll say something about that in a moment. I'm gonna mute you. Somebody else had their hand. That's Claire. Did you get anything?
Hi Philip, hi everyone. I got consciousness because I think it's because I've been watching a lot of Eckhart Tolle. So
okay.
yeah, you know, we are not the mind, that, you know, we're beyond that. So I really tapped into that.
Good.
I started to feel that a bit. So
good. So I'll say something about that in a moment. So we've had thought, voice, consciousness, a feeling. I'm going to mute you again now, and I think Annabelle got something. Did you get?
It's like an energy expansion.
Yeah.
A bit like a sensation as well, but it's like, yeah, a moving out to sort of expanding boundary.
Okay, good. All right, just to save any feedback, I'm going to mute you again. So does anybody else want to say anything else who's not said anything? That's Heather.
Yeah, I just got soul.
Soul.
That's
okay.
it.
Soul. Okay. Yeah. Good. Okay, so I will mute you again. So just having taken those responses, we got thought, voice from Andrea. Now that one, I can tell you, that's coming from mind, what we call mind. And that's not what we are. The ones where we're starting to move some sort of feeling of it, that's starting to get a bit closer. And Claire got consciousness, and definitely that's accurate, but there's a little bit more to it than that. And I think also Annabelle got some sort of opening or feeling too. I'm going to do the exercise again, but I'm going to change it a little bit, and then I'll talk a little bit more about the pointing, so to speak. So close your eyes once again. And we're going to ask the question once again. Who am I? But this time add without memory. Who am I without memory? Who am I without memory? And again, we don't need to take too long over that. So you can open your eyes. So did anybody want to give me a indication, want to share anything from that one? That's Jolene, so I'm going to unmute you. Hi, Jolene.
Hi. The first time I got nothing. I am nothing.
Okay.
The second time I got I am love, pureness.
Love and pureness. Okay. Yeah, I like both of those. Good. So I'm just going to check if anybody else. Anybody else? Yeah, Andrea. Yeah, Andrea, you're on.
Yeah, to change to vibrating love.
Vibrating love. Okay, so we're getting closer. Good. Good. Thank you for that. And I think I saw Annabelle come up.
Yeah, I just said I am nothing, and then I am emptiness.
I am, brilliant. I am emptiness. Fantastic. Good. I like that. I'm just going to mute you. And I can see Claire unmuting you.
I've got a lovely feeling in my heart, and it was like I am energy, and like I could feel my heart pulsating.
Yeah, good energy. Okay, so this is good too. Good, I like that. And I think I saw Jean. Yeah, Jean. Go on, Jean. Oh, your microphone's turned off, Jean. Top bottom left.
Right, I've mute. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Right, thank you. I got a real stillness, if you like. Yeah, just it feels like energy, but it isn't energy, if you see what I mean. It just is. You just feel still.
Still. Okay, good. Stillness. Good. I'm gonna mute you again. Did I miss anybody who wants to say anything? No. Okay. So we had emptiness, no-thingness, pure love, vibrating energy. Yeah, so there are various words to describe. Oh, hang on, I can see some people have gone off the call and need to come back in. So I'm just going to admit them, excuse me. Right, yeah. Welcome, Lois. Yeah, so we used various words for this. I think we got you on twice, Lois. I'm not quite sure why that is, but anyway, we use various words for this. It's often referred to as no-thingness or no thing. But actually, we need to understand what that means. And really, when you look at life, we can see that we have many experiences. So we see thoughts arising and passing, emotions, they come and go, feelings, they come like waves and go, sensations, phenomena, and even the sense of beingness, the pure state I am, with nothing after the words I am. Even that is a phenomena. And the realized essence, because all of these can be seen or reported or observed, even the sense that might be quite subtle, the state I am, can be seen or reported or noted inwardly. There has to be a higher presence, let's use that word for the moment, that can sense or witness, is the word I like to use a lot, all of these appearances. And that is awareness. Awareness. So when the Buddha was asked what it was that he was. His answer ultimately was this: it is that I am awareness. That's it. And this awareness is aware of itself. And it is referred to in many ways. No thing. No thing, because it isn't a thing. This cup I have here is a thing. It is limited in space and time. And ultimately, even with the laws of physics, it will dissolve into just energy. So it's not a thing. Okay, so I was just going to the fact that everything is witnessed or sensed or noticed, and it's from a higher presence, I referred to it, and that presence is awareness. And I was also starting to say it's no thing. I referred to the cup as a thing, as an example. And yet that cup is simply, it looks solid, but it's just made of energy, vibrating particles that are densely packed into the form of a cup. And that has limited properties, values. It feels warm at the moment because I've got some hot water in there. And it has properties, and it has limited function, and it has limited life. But this awareness that is no thing, it is unlimited. It is infinite. It is beyond space. It is beyond time. And it is also unchanging, unmoving, and unseen. Unchanging, unmoving, and unseen. And it's sometimes referred to, this awareness, as the unseen seer. Now, the reason that we know that even if the nature of this has not been realized experientially, that we can start to get from this higher space, because you are already this awareness, a sense of what it is that is seeking or awaiting to arise in you, by recognizing the fact that in life, all phenomena, they arise and they fall away, whether that be thoughts, feelings, emotions, sensations, and even this sense I am. If you were to just close your eyes for a moment, and you can do that, and just focus on this state, I am, with nothing after the words I am. Just pure being. It may be quite subtle, and not adding any words after the state I am, just I amness. Even that can be sensed or watched or witnessed. There's an awareness in you that is you, that can sense or witness or observe that. Whether you can recognize that or not, just at the moment, don't worry too much about that. Is everybody okay with that? Yeah. This is so obvious, this awareness, that it's like that phrase that we use, you can't see the wood for the trees. It's so blindingly obvious that we miss it, because, and the reason for that is our attention, the vast majority of the time, is up here. as to what's going on here, what thought is coming next, and then you're catching the train of thought, as I call it. And then your train of thought will take you to many stations, but none of them are your truth. And it is only this unchanging awareness that can ultimately be relied upon, because it never changes. It is permanent, still, unmoving, untouched, perfect, whole, complete awareness. Everything else in life is an appearance. You've heard of the term in movies, green screen. They use green screens in making movies. And on a green screen, as I'm sure you all know, you can project anything. You can project anything. And consciousness is like that. It's everything appears and is projected on to the green screen. And it is the unchanging awareness that sees and witnesses it all. And it is this awareness that you truly are. Yes, you have this body, but the body is something that you have, but it is not that which you are. And this body will pass, it will die, but the awareness is eternal. And again, you don't need to believe me on that. Truth is a realization, it's not a belief. Let me say that again. Truth is a realization, it's not a belief. And that's why in the Buddhist traditions, they talk about the difference between impermanence and permanence. All the phenomena of life are impermanent. Yet that which you truly are is permanent, unchanging awareness. And the purpose of those simple little exercises was to start to move you in the direction of, perhaps there's something more here that I haven't recognized yet, that I haven't given attention to. And the process of the realization, and it will appear as a process to you, of the self is essentially a shift from head to heart. And I don't just mean physical heart here, because the physical heart is a, shall we say, a multidimensional portal to the realization of this awareness. And it's actually the melding or the marriage of those that brings about, or the flowering of the realization of the self. So what we're looking for is that which we already are. And this is why, when it comes to the realization of the self, I'll often say, call off the search. Call off the search. And what I mean by that is not reaching towards it. You know, by the end of 2020, I'll be a realized being. No, that's not going to happen that way. One is already this realized essence. So it's about an openness, a willingness, and a total trust in that which is already here. Somebody asked me the question the other day, and I've been asked this question before, you know, is there one thing that you could say to me or offer to me that would lead me to this? And I've been asked this, and I was also asked this, I remember, at an event a few years ago, because this person, like many people, perhaps had explored all sorts of avenues, particularly things to do with complementary therapies, holistic therapies, used all sorts of tools, meditation techniques, you name it, and pursued what I call the spiritual sweetie shop. And they're kind of getting to the point that, you know, what is it? What is it's going to make the difference is the question. And the answer is profoundly simple. It's firstly, recognize or be open to the possibility that you, and I mean you in the non-personal sense, because this awareness is non-personal, are already this. And then secondly, be totally, utterly willing and open to the dissolution of the belief that you are the body-mind, the psychological self, ego, whatever you want to, labels you want to give it. Be totally willing to dive into and merge with this no-thingness. Now, this ego, mind, identity, body-mind complex does not like one bit. Does not like one bit. And the reason for that is that it's so identified, so bought into this identity, that it will do everything in its power to maintain this. And it has one great fear. One great fear. And that fear is the fear of death. For it equates this realization of the self with its own demise, and it equates that demise with the death of the body. But actually, it's not the death of the body, it's the death of the belief, the identification with, and the attachment to the body-mind complex that's going to die. The body can still be here, but once that belief in that, the identification with it, and attachment to it has dissolved, then this realization can flower. So the magic bullet, or the magic secret, is the total openness to one is that, and two, the willingness, the total and utter willingness to let all that you are not dissolve in the light of this awareness. And the funny thing is, it's not a doing, because mind will want to know, how do I do that? And it's not a doing, it's an allowing. It's an allowing, a realization of what is already here. And hence that little exercise that we did earlier, again, starting to look from a deeper place. It's about realizing, not seeking, finding and not searching, and seeing, not looking, because it's already here. Just going to pause at that point just to see if anybody's got any questions on that. I'm going to move on to the present situation we find ourselves in, but any questions arising from what I've shared so far? Is it all making perfect sense? I can't see any questions at the moment. Okay, so I'll carry on then. Oh, got a question there from Andrea. Go on, Andrea.
Something just came up, is why do we arrive then onto this journey at this time with the battle to start with? Why do we not just arrive and be
Okay, nice question. So why do we arrive on this journey with the battle, and why don't we just arrive and be? Okay, so I'm going to mute you again just so that we don't get too much feedback. So this awareness in this absolute state, and there is an absolute, I use the word state there, and it's not really a state. It's unchanging awareness. There is no phenomena in that space of infinite silence or infinite awareness or infinite consciousness. There's just nothing happening. There's no time, there's no space, there's no anything. And all that is there, one could be said, is awareness that it is awareness. And that's the realization. That's like what I call the greatest oh my gosh moment in the universe. There's a recognition, a realization, of seeing that one is that. Now, for reasons that it's difficult to articulate in the words, but because there's no phenomena, no experience of itself, is that it's just simply aware that it's aware. Let's say we can say it chooses to experience and express itself. And it does that in infinite variety. And so it's now manifested in the form that we call an Andrea. And so, and the form of Andrea comes into in the physical domain. You know, she gets born, she has a body. Now, as a baby is born, there's already condition, even from the moment of conception, there's already some conditioning going on, because everything is vibration essentially in this physical domain. And even just by the virtue of your parents, their own bodily conditioning, and being in that environment, there's some conditioning going on even before the baby's born. The baby then comes into life, and the first thing babies do, you start to see, is that they're forever touching themselves. You know, they're always like this, aren't they? You know, feet in the mouth, everything. And the baby starts to get the idea reinforced by its parents that it's a body. Oh, I must be this body. And it starts to identify itself as a body. And then that gets reinforced. It becomes, I am a girl, or I am a boy. I have this name, I have this religion, and so forth. And thus the conditioning into the egoic identity starts. Now, young children, as we all know, generally speaking, are much more joyful than us adults. And that's because at this stage, very early in life, they're not so identified, and they're very much more in the moment. But as years go by, and particularly as we get into teenage years and so forth, they start to go into this identity crisis, you know, because they have no idea really who they are. They're moving out of this lightness that comes with very young children into confusion about what this world is all about. And thus the conditioning starts to increase more and more. And also by this time, they've had lots and lots of life experiences, and some of those in many cases will be quite challenging. And this is building up the emotional body. And it's from that place that the suffering and the triggers and so forth are coming. So this is what's happening. In rare cases, and it is fairly rare, or very rare, some people don't go through that degree of conditioning, and they recognize themselves as awareness. There's a lady called Amma. You may have heard of Amma, an Indian mystic. It is said, and I've not followed her, that she knew she was awareness right from a child, and never gone through that same degree of conditioning. But for 99% of the population, a lot more than that even, what's happening is it becomes identified by virtue of the process of life with the body-mind complex. And so that's what's happening. And it's like there's a choice. We have a choice to identify or recognize or remember we are awareness, even from this very earliest age, or go with the body-mind complex. And most people end up going down the route. You may not be aware of this as a young child, go down this route of, and thus the suffering emerges. And it turns out then self-realization at one level, at a very limited level, there's a choice about it. And the choice is always this: do I go with the head or the heart? Do I go with the invitation of the heart, which is expansive, inviting, inspiring, uplifting, these kinds of energies? Or do I go with the head, which is contracting, must, should, ought to, obligation? Essentially, for every moment in life, that choice is there. And quite a large percentage of the time, what most of us are doing is going with the head rather than the heart. So this is how the process happens. Now you can start to get into, people talk about things like past lives, future lives, and all the rest of it. But if I just say for now that all of it, all the experience that ever happened, and this is mind-boggling, this is here now. And it's really a matter where you're looking at on the screen of consciousness at this moment. So if you think of like a universal sized library, all of the data for all of the whole universe and all of its eternity is there. And you can turn to the book of Andrea and you can look at, and all of it is there. You may open it at a specific page, or you may look at a specific paragraph, or you may look at a specific word, or a specific letter, or the shape of the letter. We're focusing down, and yet this entirety of existence is here now. And it's through that identification with that tiny, infinitesimally small identity that the problem occurs. And yet the great gift of life, and this is why I call it life's greatest gift, is that one can have the body as a living experience, but realize one is simply awareness. Does that answer your question, Andrea? I'm going to unmute you briefly.
It does. Yes, thanks very much for that.
That's kind of a summary of how it occurs. Good. Okay. Any other questions from anybody? Oh, Sachin. Yeah. Off you go.
Yeah.
Hello?
So,
yeah.
I like the words you said that it's more about allowing. We already are there and we are allowing it. It's like we are calling it. We are already there.
Yeah.
We are calling it. So whenever you say, who am I? My first experience goes to sensation. From that, I have to surrender.
Correct.
Or, as you said, allow it or wait for it, which
yeah.
I already am.
Exactly that. Exactly that. So, and this realization, I'm going to mute you again, Sachin, just to save the feedback. You see, people talk about as this flowering starts to emerge, you can get both massive emotional releases, but you could also get amazingly beautiful sensations. And mind might go, oh, I'll have some more of that bliss, that love, whatever, but that's not it. That's not it. it is that which is before all that, that witnesses all of that, that you are. But in the realization or the awareness of it, its natural perfumes, shall we say, are love, peace, grace, gratitude, these, you know, these types of words, acceptance, allowing. But this acceptance and this allowing is total of what is here now. So the allowing is really just another word for the realization of what is here. Hopefully that covers it for you, Sachin. I just wanted to say, given the present situation in the world, just offer another pointing about that sort of helps us with this whole realization process, because basically what's happening now, although, you know, it's obviously very challenging for everybody, basically the whole world pretty much is losing what a term I came across a few years ago and I really liked it. It's losing its perceptual markers. It's losing its perceptual markers. What I mean by that, a perceptual marker might be, you know, I get up in the morning, I go to work, I can move about freely, I've got these friends and family that I can go and see anytime. There's any number of these perceptual markers that you mark your life by. And now, as we're in either self-isolation or social distancing, or not allowed to go and see our friends and family, you maybe can't go to work, all of the things that the markers by which you have been running your life have suddenly gone. And many people are finding themselves in great sort of distress, anxiety, fear about that. And all of that fear, by the way, is coming from one ultimate fear, the one I've already talked about, and that's the fear of the death of the body vehicle. Any anxiety, any fear that you have ever had, all comes from that place. You don't have to believe me on that, you will see this. So as these perceptual markers are taken away, suddenly that which you have been defining your life by virtue of the situation with COVID-19 has been taken away. Now, herein is a great opportunity for self-realization, because the realization of the self has no perceptual markers whatsoever. None at all. One is identified with nothing. One believes, has no belief. And one has no attachment to how life should appear. Belief, identification, and attachment all come in the same package, by the way. Belief being the key one. So, as we face this dissolution of our perceptual markers, herein is a great opportunity from life to life, and you are life, to face the anxieties that arise as a result of this. Look them straight in the eye, so to speak, and recognize that there's a deeper or a greater awareness that's looking or seeing, not attached to a specific outcome or a specific marker or indicator of how life should be. So although it is sad in this present situation, and it is, that many have died and many are contracting this illness, at another level, this taking away all of a sudden, overnight almost, of these perceptual markers of life is a deep, deep, deep invitation to face the fears, to look at what this presents to us, to step back and look from the space of awareness. Because that dive I was talking about into the void, or into the infinite ocean of consciousness, for that flowering to emerge, a key portal that has to be passed through is this fear of death of the body. Because as that fear dissolves, the identification, the belief that one is the body mind, that also goes with it. So any fear that's arising here, any stressing, any challenge that is emerging here is an invitation. It's not, we may see it as a challenge, but actually it's an invitation from life, to life, for life, to look more deeply as to what life is presenting. It's a very challenging way to go about it, for sure. I'm not underestimating it. I know that, I can see that from what's being shared, but actually there's a profound opportunity, and I'm seeing this everywhere. I'm seeing people starting to take a step back and just look, hang on a minute, is this what life is? Do we want to get back to normal? What is normal anyway? Or do we want to come back to what is natural? Does everybody see or get some idea of what I'm pointing at here? Any questions about that? I think, oh yeah, there's one from Claire.
Hi Philip, I'm noticing there's a lot more peace. I live near the airport, so there's no planes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm recognising the mad culture, the 24-hour supermarkets, Domino's delivering pizzas till 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
It's pointless. It's, you know, it's, I think people have got the priorities all screwed up, all wrong. The culture, the capitalist culture, you know, all money making. I really don't see how a society is going to be the same after this. So instead of being fearful, it's actually quite it's quite exciting. You know,
Good.
like priorities are changing, I think, already. Slowly. So
I'm glad
that's
you see
what I've
that.
picked up.
I'm
Yeah.
glad to see that. I'm
Yeah.
glad to see that. And maybe some of you are starting to see that. Maybe more of you are starting to see that. You're not the first person that said that to me. And that's really what I'm pointing at. That there is an opportunity here. Obviously, we want to manage the situation and help everybody come through this. But the world will not be the same after this. And for you, there's an opportunity to look more deeply into life. I had a question submitted to me. In fact, there's 3 bits to this question, and it kind of relates to where what I've just been talking about and what Claire's just said there. So I'm going to go to that question because I think it will be here for all of you in different ways. So I'm just going to read it here because I had to write it down. As things arise that you realize you don't need to hold on to, views of yourself, others, situations, why is it that sometimes it takes a while to let go? That's the first part of the question. So everybody got that, yeah? So you're starting to see more clearly things you don't need to hold on to anymore. Why is it that it takes a while to let go? The simple answer to that is that if it's taking a while to go through that process of the dissolution or the letting go, it's because you're still buying into, at some level, the identity. as the small self. You know, I am this woman or this man with this story, these situations, this relationships, whatever. And that identity is hanging on for dear life to that self because it fears its demise. So this dissolution can happen very, very fast, or it can take longer. And when it's taking a while and there's a struggle going on and there's a resistance going on, it's because you're still buying the story. You're still buying the story. And this story has what I call bargain basement offers. You know, it'll, but if you did this, and but if you did that, and, you know, it'll put doubt there, it'll put fear into the equation. So the reason the process takes a while is simply because you're still buying the identity. So the key thing is to doubt the doubter. You are not the doubter. This awareness has no doubt about itself. It just simply is awareness. So if heart is saying one thing, excuse me, mind is saying something else, go with the heart, face the doubts, doubt the doubter. There's a whole live stream dedicated to the dissolution of this stuff, and it's called Live Stream 11. It's quite an old one now. It's on my YouTube channel, and I've had it professionally filmed recently. Everything's there in the old one, but I'm going to be reissuing that soon, and that will answer that question more fully. But there's another part to this question, so I'm going to move on to that now. Everybody happy with that first part, by the way, that I just said? Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. So the second part is, I see it more clearly, but I feel strong emotions with it too. How do you, excuse me a second, express them safely without holding on or joining the train of thought? So as dissolution, as anxiety, as fear comes up, and you're starting to see, there's something I'm holding on to here. First thing is to see it as an invitation rather than a challenge. If you identify with the emotion or the challenge, you will become that. You will become that. The reason the emotion has arisen, the situation has triggered it, is because the emotional body is still very dominant. And a situation of similar vibration has occurred that has brought this emotion forth. Now, if you see it as, I am the emotion, I am distressed, fearful, guilty, whatever emotion you want to put there, then you will become that, and it will be challenging and it will be very difficult. If, however, you see it as an appearance, a wave, 1 minute the emotion was not there, and then it's arisen. If you become the witness, what I call the silent witness, the watcher, like this emotion is appearing, what you're watching the body as a movie from the inside. What will happen is that that emotion will be seen in the light of awareness. You're not identifying with it, you are accepting it, you're allowing it to be felt fully, and it will automatically dissolve. So the safest way to do that is to be recognized that you are not it, and to realize that it is an appearance and an invitation for it to be watched and dissolved. It's not about venting the emotion on some perceived other who you may blame for it. It's about watching or witnessing that which is present within you. Get into the silence, and we'll do a meditation in a minute. Watch and witness. Feel it fully. look it straight in the eye, but do not become it. That is the safest way and the fastest way through. The more you identify with it, the more it will take time, the more you will struggle. So that's the second part. And again, that's all covered in live stream 11. And then the third part is, I'm interested to notice how my view of life, people, places and situations are changing, like I can see more clearly in these times of great change. Does space give you better vision? I think the short answer to that will be yes. Because what life is inviting you to do right now is to step back. I often express this as the stop, look, listen. So when you were a child, you learned to cross the road and you learned 3 key words: stop, look, listen. And you did that because it was a good idea to learn that process and to cross the road safely, because it was going to save your life. From a spiritual perspective, it's exactly the same. To stop running around, stop being busy, stop identifying with the story, stop living life at 100 miles an hour. Create that space, that openness, that opportunity. Stop. Meditate. Look. The looking that I'm talking about is looking from this space of awareness, that little exercise we did earlier. Looking at what is unfolding, but not becoming that which is unfolding or appearing on the screen of consciousness. Simply watching neutrally without judgment of you or anybody else. Listen. In that space of stillness, awareness, insight, clarity, inspiration will arise. That you can trust because it's coming from this unchanging. It's the perfumes of this essence. It's not coming from here, what we call the mind. It's coming from within. It will often be surprising, it will be uplifting, it will be inviting, it will be inspiring, it will be expansive. That is the type of space that creates the opening, the invitation to the realization. So I think you can see how those 3 parts to that question relate to the present situation we find ourselves in. The big invitation here is not to rush back to what we consider to be normal, but to look deeper and witness it all from this space of awareness. Is that all making sense to everybody? Before I go to the meditation, anybody want to ask or share anything from those questions or anything else that I've said so far? Or have you all been stunned into silence? Oops. Oh, right, Claire.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. I think gratitude.
Yes.
I've gained a lot more gratitude, and you know, because I go everywhere on the train, and the hours have been cut now. Obviously, you know, it's not essential travel, so I'm not going. But yeah, it's just like I just, you know, just assumed it would always be there. Again, it's challenging my perception of what is and what isn't really. So everything isn't a given that it's always going to be there, because it is impermanent. So yeah, so I just wanted to say that. Yeah,
gratitude.
So I've just got gratitude.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I mentioned, I normally mention that word, but didn't, so I don't think, by the sounds of it. But yeah, That is, you know, these words that I use, gratitude, joy, peace, love, grace, allowing, you know, they are all different aspects of the same energy. If gratitude is present, joy is also present. Love is also present. Peace is also present. Allowing is also present. You don't need to believe me on that. You will see. If you're starting from a place of true gratitude, all of those energies, love, peace, grace, joy, and this joy, by the way, and this gratitude ultimately are for no reason. For no reason. We're so used to being happy at a turn of events, some happy turn of events, but the event soon passes, or maybe the events turn sour in our opinion. This permanent awareness is not event-based. It's eternal. And there's just this natural perfume. That makes sense to everybody. Everybody got it. Jolene's going to ask something there. Yeah, you're free.
Right. This might sound a bit insensitive or whatever, because obviously there is, you know, horrible things going on at the minute, and people are, yeah, you know, feeling terrible and stuff like that. From my I wanted to ask if this is sort of resonant with you. From my understanding, or my inner standing, from the non-personal, from what I've seen from within, is that you mentioned before about the about choosing this experience. My understanding is that we're choosing all of it. So there's a lot of conspiracy theories going round about this, that, and the other. But from the highest level, from what my heart's seen, or what I've seen from within, is that it has chosen it all.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is that it, Jolene? You want to say anything more? Or?
For the purpose of realizing itself again, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So life is one indivisible whole. It's infinite. And again, that's not an invitation to believe anything I'm saying. It's an invitation for you to look deeper and see. And the way that we're operating mostly in our human experience is there are things, events that happen, that appear to happen to us, that we would never consciously choose at, you know, at this level. Yet this deeper state of awareness may bring forth situations that at the human level would seem ridiculous and challenging, very distressing situations. But all of it is being seen by life. And because of the emotional trauma that's being carried, not just us as individuals, but collectively, we're creating and co-creating from that. And our experience of life, the suffering, is being projected from this space. So at the human level, it would look like this has been, it could look like from the space of mind, it's been visited upon us. But in truth, because life is one indivisible whole, there's been a, shall we say, a collective creation. Whoops, we seem to have lost somebody. A collective creation and co-creation of that. At the human level, it seems almost impossible for us to understand why we would do that. But at a deeper level, if we look back to where I was before about the invitation that this situation presents, and also remembering, very important to remember, that we are life eternal. We are not the body-mind. We are not the body-mind. Then this, when we see it from this broader and deeper perspective, then life is presenting a huge invitation in a very, very challenging way. I don't, have any doubts about that. To life, for humanity individually and collectively to look at life and go, whoa, maybe the way we've been operating is not serving us individually or collectively. Does that kind of address it for you, Jolene? Yeah, it does. Okay. I've got a question from Annabelle.
Yeah, it's more just more reflection on the same theme, really, because it seems like life has been knocking on humanity's door for quite a few decades.
Yes.
It seems to be having to get louder and louder and louder. And
Bingo.
if this is if we don't change after this, I slightly wonder what would happen next, because it does feel like it's a wake-up call.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
we're so out of balance with the natural world, and it feels very natural what's happening in a sense. It's to sort of wake us up.
Correct.
Yeah,
that's
because
definitely.
we're damaging life. I mean, we're damaging it.
Yeah.
So it's makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to sort of take that a little bit further, I'm just going to leave you unmuted for a moment. At one level, we're damaging. If you took at the ecosystem of planet Earth, then yes. At another level, life eternal is untouched and unmoved and undamaged. But we've, like, humanity's been put on pause, basically. Oh, my internet connection's getting a bit unstable, it says, so I'm hoping this will continue. Fingers crossed. Everybody still okay at the moment? So, yeah. And because the earth also is a part of consciousness, it's not separate from consciousness. The earth is a living organism, and our bodies are made of the earth. We're in co-collaboration with the earth with this. And if we can't wake up from this, then when are we going to wake up, is what I would say to that. Okay. Is that okay, Annabelle?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you.
Good. A couple more questions, and then I'm going to go to a meditation. I think Claire was next. Go on, Claire.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I agree with Anna about what she's saying, but it's just perfect how it's unfolding. Once you step back from it, it's just on so many levels. How people were just mindless. Literally on so many levels. Morality, sexual immorality. You could go on and on and on. But there's a phrase that one of my friends said, and whatever happens in life, we're not a victim, and I just think it's very pertinent for today. It's like, it's not happening to me, it's happening for me. So Bingo. To see it as a teaching, as a lesson, rather than, oh, I'm this helpless victim. Yeah.
Bingo. Yeah, absolutely. I'm really happy with that. I'm going to come to you next, Sachin. So yeah, it's actually an invitation from life to life, and we are life. We're not separate from life. So yeah, Sachin, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I don't want to say about the current situation. I am very much affectionated with the words allowing you are using. It is actually pulling me into it. So you said something about allowing is equivalent to gratitude, love, joy, and peace. Maybe you can elaborate later, but actually that has attracted me a lot. So I wanted to realize that sentence. Actually, it is not become part of me. But
Okay.
if you,
Sure.
I mean,
sure.
allowing is equivalent or not equivalent. Allowing is gratitude, love, joy, and peace.
Yes. Okay, I'll say a bit more about that, and then we'll perhaps go to the meditation. So, you know, the ultimate allowing is actually a realizing of what is already here. It's a realizing of what is already here. At the human level, we experience it as a process of allowing that there is something to be allowed. But that's because we're identified as the body-mind. But you take that to its ultimate extremity. There is nothing to allow. One simply is the awareness. So if I call it the highest form of allowing is realizing. We take steps on the journey of allowing, and that basically moves us into, first we're judging, life should be this way. And then we start to move into deeper and deeper spaces of non-judgment. And then we get to the ultimate allowing, which is realizing. And the perfumes of the infinite silence or awareness, as expressed, untouched, unfettered by identity, belief, and attachment, are joy, peace, grace, truth. All these, when you look at it deeply, you will see that when one of them is present, all of them are present. That's what I meant by that. That making sense to everybody? Yeah. Yeah, like that. The key point to look at life from is not from the space of identity. That's how we've been used to looking at life, and as a result, suffering. When we come back, and are open to that, simply that we are awareness and life is appearing in front of us, then we see. And we start to see clearly for the first time that we're not separate from life, that we are, in fact, some of you have seen this before, that we are life. So here's a fiber optic lamp, and most of us are identifying with the point at the end, the light at the end of this lamp, and looking outwards, and the 8 billion people on the planet look separate, and indeed the rest of life looks separate from us. Turn it on. But actually, all of the light at the points is coming from this one source. And that is being powered, in this case, by the battery. And this battery is infinite sized. It covers the totality of this, enfolds and embraces from this, from every direction. And it's awareness. And it's what is consciousness? It's energy aware of itself. There is nothing separate from consciousness, nothing separate from life. That's the infinite awareness, the infinite consciousness, or the infinite silence, the self-aware, big S, non-personal self-awareness. That's what life is, that's what you are. And it is the perfume, the pure expression of that, unfettered by belief, attachment, identification, that will feel like in the body peace, grace, gratitude, love, allowing. I'm conscious of time. I don't know if anybody needs to get off the call, but we've been going for an hour and 25 minutes. And I wanted to try and do a little meditation together before we finish. Is everybody okay with that? Yeah. No need to. If anybody needs to go, feel free. But let's have about 10 minutes, and then we'll close after that. By the way, before I forget, somewhere, and I don't know where it appears. I think it might be that button there. I'll click on that in a bit. There's a button called polling. Now I've created a poll for this stream. It's a series of questions for you, which I'd be grateful if you could just take a few minutes and provide me with your answers. Essentially built around, has this been useful? Would you like more of it? If so, how? Type questions. There's 4 of them, and they're like yes, no, multiple choice answers. It should literally take a matter of minutes or moments to do. And I think I've just found the button to enable it. So I'll do that after the meditation. So if you want to just close your eyes now, just get yourself comfortable. And just bring your attention to your body. The whole of your body. Just noticing the sensations there. And just being open from your heart to the experience of what I call spheres of light. Spheres of light. It's the same as the pure universal state. I am, with nothing after the words I am. Just resting your attention on this state. I am pure being, aliveness. Just noticing this. I amness. And as your attention rests there, simply know that as subtle as this may be, it is seen or witnessed from the deeper essence that is the silent witness in infinite silence. And just allow your attention to merge with, become one with this silent witness that sees the I am and other phenomena deeper and deeper, simply noticing neutrally, silently, all that is appearing. now. And this silent witness itself is like a sliver of ice in an ocean of water. It is melting, dissolving, merging, realizing it is the water. It is the ocean of awareness, of infinite silence. Simply still, present, absolute awareness. Everything appearing in front of this. All I truly know is silence. In silence, you will realize your truth. In truth, you will realize you are silence, infinite silence. Never has there been a time when you were not this. Always this. Eternally this awareness. Absolute awareness. All that I am is infinite silence, is all that am high, infinite silence, ever present, ever presence. Absolute awareness. Nothing remains but this. Simply this. Always this. It is this that you seek, and this that you already are. Simply here to be realized. All I truly know is silence. And as this brief meditation comes to a close, know that one remains as this always. Keeping your attention rested in and as this awareness, and gently aware of your body. In a moment, I will ring the singing bowl 3 times. Continue to rest as awareness. Fades out. Just simply aware of your body, the room, the chair, but keeping your attention rested in silence as silence, and gently open your eyes when the time is right for you. Namaste.